Hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a slightly special Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this Sunday Stuff and Things, we have lots of stuff and things to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things Working and Stuff and Things Plays. Then I'm going to give sort of an appeal for a friend of mine, and it's not something that I would typically do. I don't even know how to couch this exactly, but we'll get into it. And then there are lots of questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. Lots of good topics to cover. So let's get into this. All right, gang, what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things Working and Stuff and Things Plays? Well, first of all, this coming week we have an update video on the video I posted. It's been over 8 years now, and it was called How to, in brackets, attempt to improve your handwriting. And in that video, I was talking about how sloppy my writing had become and how I was trying to improve it by studying some cursive styles, namely Spencerian cursive. And now several people have asked me for an update on that video, and so I provided that. That will be posting this Wednesday on Stuff and Things on YouTube, Monday on Patreon, ad-free if you are a Patreon supporter. I have kept up on writing in cursive, but it has evolved a bit since I was really studying those Spencerian guides. And so I think it's interesting for a lot of people. That's one of the most popular videos on the channel, and a lot of people have asked for an update on it. And so for those of you who are interested, that video will be posting this Wednesday. The following Wednesday, I am doing kind of a different kind of video. It's not a first impressions video, and it's not a review. I think I'm going to call it a blend spotlight, and it is on this giant log that is ostensibly a pipe blend. This is actually Peter Heinrichs curly block. It is now available as Wessex curly block with a slightly different formula, I believe. I think Wessex curly block is now made by the STG, Scandinavian Tea Group. I think the Peter Heinrichs version was made by McFadin. Not totally sure on all that. I've tried to do some research on it, but this is the Peter Heinrichs version. It is basically a vapor in log form or block form, kind of like a coin cut blend before it got cut into coins. And so I'm doing a spotlight on this blend. It's just really interesting. It's really weird to try to prepare this because it is so dense. I don't have the knife on me now, but I was using one of my Bark River knives that is shaving sharp. I could shave with that knife, and I had trouble getting through this thing. You could defend yourself from an attacker with this thing. It is so dense and it's a lot of tea in this log here. So definitely check that out next week. Working this Monday, we have a full episode, Working episode 14. And it's an interesting one because we had to pour a wall that is unsupported. Typically when we do a foundation wall, we have forms and we have things called snap ties. They're these metal clips that go through the forms, and then we have these metal shoes that go on each side, and that keeps the forms from spreading out. But we had to pour a wall up against an existing wall, and we couldn't get a form behind there. And so we had to use some kind of interesting methods to make sure that that wall was going to stay put. And, things are getting muddy, it's getting rainy, it's fall now. So an interesting episode of Working. Be sure to check that out on Monday at 6 a.m. Pacific. And then on Stuff and Things Plays, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the Tears of the Kingdom series continues. Probably the best game of all time. So be sure to check that out as well. All right, so this is not something I would typically do, and I hope you'll forgive me for doing this on the channel, but I am in the unique position that I have, about 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, most of whom are amazing, wonderful, generous people. And I would never do this for myself, but I have a friend, his name is Sean. And you may have heard me mention him in the past because when I was talking about the song that bookends my pipe blend reviews, this one, he was the person who was in the band, kind of the main guitarist and other songwriter in that band, Burn Up, that I was in years back. And I have known him for years. He's a great guy, a really good friend, super talented, an amazing musician, a really good artist, and just a lovely person. And recently he was diagnosed with cancer, and it is malignant metastatic melanoma. And when I looked into that, I was very shocked to see how negative some of the prognoses are for people who have that form of cancer. He is not aware that I'm doing this, and I don't know what he would think if he did know, but I just felt compelled to mention that there is a GoFundMe for my friend Sean, because he's going to need help, just for living expenses and things like that. He's got a support system here in town and a lot of people who care about him and love him and support him, but you know, just the way things are when you are going through that kind of illness, you're not going to be able to work. There are going to be just a lot of other extraneous expenses that come up. So I know you guys don't know him, and I'm not in any way trying to guilt you into anything, but I just felt like because I have this outlet for reaching a lot of people, I would put a link for his GoFundMe in the description box of this video below. I know a lot of you support me on Patreon, and that is fantastic. If you would rather donate to him instead of supporting me on Patreon, that would be great, because, you know, I donated to the GoFundMe. A lot of my friends and people I know locally have donated to the GoFundMe. But I think he could use all the help he could get, and I'm hoping, I'm confident that he's going to beat this. And if any of you feel the desire, then I will put that link in the description box below. I feel weird about doing this, but I just think in this situation, it's the right thing to do. So I didn't want to get too involved with this Sunday Stuff and Things of a bunch of kind of frankly frivolous discussions and everything. I just kind of wanted to put that out there as the main topic of this video. If you feel like it, it would be fantastic if you wanted to help my friend Sean. Thank you. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, please, you can tweet at SATBradley, at SATBradley on Twitter/X. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can write to me via Patreon. Go right to the front of the line. You can hit that super thanks button under this video and go right to the front of the line. And today we have a lot of questions and a lot of feedback. This is via YouTube from @SmokingHotScott. Scott says, do you drink espresso? I just ordered my first espresso machine and accoutrement, and I'm looking forward to a deep dive. Sorry to disappoint you, but no. I've never been a fancy coffee kind of person, and I know espresso isn't particularly fancy, but when I drink coffee, it is just coffee. I make my coffee in a French press, and I basically only drink that. If I'm at a coffee shop, I never order anything other than just plain old coffee. Never any lattes, never any, I don't even know what all the other drinks are called. I never get espresso, I never get an Americana, I never get anything other than plain old coffee. Basic. I'm a basic person, but thank you for the question. Next, from @BlakesPipes. Does a man's palate at times get confused? I'm a year plus into this hobby, and many of the blends I even the ones I have loved in the past, just start tasting the same. As I am an aromatic esser, I bought the corncob pipe and a button nose and got nothing other than burnt tea from all my pipes. I see reviewers stating that they taste hot chocolate and cream. I get none of that. I clean my pipe with every S and pipe cleaners with pipe cleaners and do use filters. Just asking. Thanks, buddy. This is a question that I get pretty regularly, and I don't know exactly what your particular case is as far as the mechanics and everything, how you are actually essing your pee. But one thing I will say is that aromatics can be kind of ashy, especially initially. Just if you're having a blend that does have a lot of topping on it, it is easier to get those blends to burn too hot. I would recommend for you to get a very innocuous, light, non-aromatic blend, something like Orlik Golden Sliced or something, and try that out and really focus on the mechanics. Really focus on not letting it get too hot, not letting it burn too quickly, making sure your pack is good, not too tight but not too loose. Try that a couple times, and if you're still only tasting a burnt ashy flavor, maybe it's just not for you. I don't know, but that would be my number one recommendation, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people who will have some good advice in the comments below as well. Next, we have a question from @scoundrel1342. Do you have a hobby/interest you've always wished to pursue but haven't? When I saw this question, it kind of threw me for a loop because I am not the type of person to not try things. If there's something that interests me, I will pretty much do it. And that's kind of it's kind of a blessing and kind of a curse because I get into so many things that I don't feel like I ever really put as much time and effort into those things as people who just pick one hobby and really get enthusiastic about that one thing are able to do. So I just go through these cycles where I get interested in something, I suck all the marrow out of that thing, and then I might put that aside and get into something else. Some of those things stick and they'll keep coming around. Some of those things become, part of my daily or weekly ritual, like playing guitar now. I've played guitar pretty much every day now for the last several years. That is definitely a thing that I'm always going to be interested in. The pipe hobby, for instance, is a thing. Things like photography and stuff like that. But there are just so many things that I find fascinating. It's kind of goes to that question where, or not even a question, but an observation that I've made where I don't understand boredom. I don't think I've ever been bored in my entire life, and it's because there's always something that I'm interested in. I'm always pursuing some little bit of knowledge, maybe nothing that's particularly edifying to me, but something that piques my interest. And so, yeah, I can't really think of any hobby that I've really wanted to pursue but haven't. Thanks for the question. Next, we have some feedback from last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from @BimScootney1242. They just put a big roundabout right near where I live. So I was talking about the cow-faced woman who did not know how to use the roundabout properly last week in my rant. Roundabouts are not something we're used to seeing around here. People just fly through them without yielding. Although I have to say it did free up traffic a lot, much better than the four-way traffic lights they had there. Hope your mom is feeling better. Thank you, Bim Scootney. And yeah, I think when people use roundabouts, traffic circles, whatever, properly, they work really well. Next, this is from @WritingWithDave. Man, you came locked and loaded today. Haha. As a long-haul truck driver, I feel your pain on people's driving. I deal with it every day, and it really makes me angry how careless and impatient people are on the road. Hope the best for your mom. Thank you. And yeah, driving is one of those things where you are piloting a multi-thousand-pound vehicle at very high speeds, and you would think that people would, just through a sense of self-preservation, want to do that well and with care. But it shocks me how quite a few people don't seem to have any regard for their own lives or the lives of others. Next, from @SoulSmoke. Brad, don't ever drive in South Korea or Southeast Asia. You'll lose your schniz on day number 1. Yeah, I don't think I would, because I would understand that the expectations for how people drive would be different in different places. Where I live, people go through driver's education when they're young. There is a whole licensing process. There are rules of the road that almost everybody agrees to follow, and there's an etiquette that it's part of the culture here. And so when people don't adhere to that, it sticks out and it makes you angry because they're not doing what everyone else has agreed to do. If I were in, the Philippines or Vietnam or something like that, where it's all just a free-for-all, I would understand that that's the case. I might still get slightly annoyed, but it wouldn't be an affront to my sensibilities the same way it is here when someone acts like a jackass. Next, from okay, here we go again. Our good friend, Mr. Westerhoff, is continuing to try to get me to pronounce the last G in his name properly. He says it's the sound like clearing your throat. So I've been saying Jorg. I'm going to say Jorg. Is that more like it? Jorg. Let me know. Okay, now we have some feedback from the Age Burley Flake Revisited episode. At a Bushafee 55 says simply best Burley Flake. A lot of people would concur with that. Next from at Sean VZ7ZW. Great revisited video as always. Did I hear they changed the recipe in 2021-ish? I have heard a lot from people saying that the recipe has changed, and I definitely noticed a difference. It tasted more licoricey than chocolatey, and the previous version that I had had way back in the day was definitely more cocoa powdery than licoricey. So to me, it does seem different. Next, from at Tom Brown, 1898. Was that your date of birth? Bradley, I was waiting for this one. The first time I tried this tea was in 2007. My instant impression was that it was close to the original Larison Brother Edgeworth Sliced, which I first almost screwed up there, in summer of 1972. That stuff was heaven on earth. It was a blend of different white burleys, well aged with a subtle chocolate casing. A bit of molasses too. Solani is fast becoming a distant memory as the Edgeworth. It's been more than 5 years since I found it in stock anywhere. Great review. Yeah, and I think that chocolatey cocoa molassesy flavor that I really loved in Age Burley Flake is not there anymore. I'm gonna have to try some more tins if I can ever get any more tins, but yeah, the tin I had it wasn't there. Next, from at Carl Kessler 303, I really can't compare it to anything. I think it's completely unique. I don't see a comparison to Irish Flake at all. It's a burley, and to me it has a unique green flavor. Interesting. Thank you for all the feedback. Please keep that coming in. We love getting your questions, comments, and feedback for all the videos and all the stuff I post. But now it is time for the very best part of the show. And that is where I thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support the channels on Patreon, it is much appreciated. But in this case, I would probably appreciate it more if you supported my friend Sean on GoFundMe, but that's up to you. No pressure. But every week we like to shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Glenn Dunnington, Jason Buckner, MDoftheNorth, David Gaudreau, Finn O'Hagan, Ryan McFadin, Arcturus, Ashes of the Phoenix, and Jonathon Proctor. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like Bob Magee. And we will never forget our dearly departed friend and Hall of Fame member, Peter Straub. Gang, thank you so much for watching. I still feel weird and kind of awkward about mentioning the stuff with my friend, but I just felt compelled to do it. I felt like I had to do it. And so hopefully you don't mind. Like I said, there is a link to his GoFundMe in the description box below. Please stay tuned for the how to attempt to improve your handwriting 8 years later video. The Peter Heinrichs curly block video, which we'll be posting the week after that. Working episode 14 this Monday on Working, and then on Stuff and Things Plays, the Tears of the Kingdom series on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.